Hi, I'm Connor Lambert, and welcome to Fantasy on the Clock, the destination for all your fantasy hesitation. Today I will be covering all fantasy football news and rankings you desire. From COVID updates to injury issues, there is more fantasy to go over than ever before. I will discuss all the rankings and fantasy insight to help you win your league. Now, the 2020 NFL season was defined by COVID and injuries. This season, many players were affected by COVID, including stars Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton, and the all-time great Larry Fitzgerald. Symptoms varied from each player, with Cam and Lamar only missing a week with mild symptoms, while Larry Fitzgerald missed 2 weeks and lost 9 pounds, as he's still trying to get back his taste and smell, all while fighting out on the football field. As COVID can affect certain players, it can affect a whole team as well. Before the season even started, when opt-outs were being declared, the Patriots had multiple defenders opt out, which has led them to not making the playoffs for the first time since 2008. Some teams not getting normal practices, and others like the Titans and Ravens had outbreaks that spread throughout the team. Many games had to be reshuffled and postponed during the season, starting with the Steelers versus the Titans game being moved from week 4 to week 7, changing both teams' bye week. And let me tell you, the players were not happy at all, with big-time players such as Eric Ebron and Juju Smith-Schuster both posting on the Twitter their dislikes about the postponement, with Eric Ebron even saying that he's going to have to miss his son's birthday party because he planned around week 7 when the bye originally was. Another big aspect of this season has been injuries, and lots of them. Because of the different offseason due to COVID, lots of players are getting hurt this year. This includes big-time running backs such as Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, Miles Sanders, Chris Carson, and Raheem Mostert. All these running backs had a lot of lower body injuries because of the different preseason, which has led to torn ACLs to players like New York Giants star running back Saquon Barkley, who is usually very durable but tore his ACL early this season, hurting a lot of fantasy owners' teams. Along with those running backs were a lot of injured wide receivers, such as Packers wide receiver Davante Adams, who missed the first couple weeks of the season with a lingering ankle injury. Chris Godwin, with multiple injuries, including a finger and a concussion, missed the first couple weeks of the season as well. Kenny Golladay, the Lions star receiver, only played 4 games because of a hip injury this season. And Odell Beckham Jr. tore his ACL early in week 7, while Courtland Sutton, a star receiver who broke out last year, had this season cut short after tearing his ACL in only week 2. And Deebo Samuel, the 49ers wide receiver, was out with multiple injuries, including a hamstring. But one of the biggest injuries this season has definitely been to Michael Thomas. Drafted top 5 in almost every draft this year, he's been a big-time bust. Now on injured reserve, he only played 7 games this season with a bad ankle injury that has disappointed fantasy managers everywhere. While injuries have ravaged the league, quarterbacks have been especially bad, with one of the worst this season to any player being Dak Prescott of the Cowboys. Playing on the franchise tag this year, he had a horrible ankle injury in week 5, where his ankle was completely broken. Prescott was having a great start to the season, and it'll be interesting to see what happens to him now. In what could be his final season, Drew Brees got a collapsed lung and multiple rib fractures, leaving him out for 3 weeks on injured reserve. Ouch. Next are my quarterback rankings. Quarterbacks can be very fluid each week, but to me, the top 2 for sure are Patrick Mahomes and Kyler Murray. Kyler's rushing ability is huge, even though he fell off a little bit the second half of the season with a shoulder injury with only 18 points a game. The next couple of quarterbacks are Josh Allen, Russell Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers, all who are still playing at elite levels and can be the top quarterback any given week. And Josh Allen has been one of the biggest surprises and breakout players this year, having over 30 points in multiple games, showing he's just getting started. Another great mobile quarterback is Deshaun Watson of the Texans. Always tricking defenders, he's a game changer. Even with Will Fuller out and DeAndre Hopkins gone, he's still a top fantasy QB. When it comes to running backs, no one is better come playoff time than Titans running back Derrick Henry. One of the best players in all of football, Henry averages over 20 points a game in the fantasy playoffs. Another top running back play each week is Aaron Jones. He's another must-start each week kind of player and feasts on good matchups, and it'll be something to watch where he goes this offseason, as he is a free agent now. One of my favorite running backs is Dalvin Cook. Averaging around 20 points per game this season, he's been the second best rated running back on ESPN this year. A late season breakout this year was David Montgomery, who looks to be finally putting it all together. After coming back from a concussion, he's been on fire, averaging over 25 points per game and finally making fantasy managers glad they have him. Now, a bit of an anomaly when it comes to wide receivers is Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods of the Los Angeles Rams, as both are ranked in the wide receiver 1 range weekly, and I personally am a big fan of both. And despite rough quarterback play, Allen Robinson has proved he can be a star no matter what. It'll be something to watch where he goes this offseason and whose quarterback is next season. And another anomaly like Woods and Kupp is Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones of the Atlanta Falcons. Both of these wide receivers are must-start players each week, and Ridley has taken a big step forward this year, especially when Julio has had some injury issues this season. Both of them consistently ranked in the wide receiver 1 range, and for good reason. Now, the tight end position. Overall, this position is a bit of a wasteland, and each week you can't rely on many guys here. The two you can rely on each week are Travis Kelce and Darren Waller, with others like Hunter Henry and Logan Thomas being the next top tier. Now, a sleeper this year that me and others have picked out is Logan Thomas for the Washington football team. A top target for them, he's had at least 6 targets per game and usually a touchdown too. He's been killing it in a breakout season for the former college quarterback. Now, some bold predictions I had this year were that Derrick Henry would really show up during the fantasy playoffs. And during the playoffs, he had over 100 yards in each game and some touchdowns as he continues to destroy opposing defenses and stiff-arm your team to a championship. I know this might be a bit of a reach before the season, but after his early season struggles, David Montgomery has made a statement this year after his concussion and has come through in the fantasy playoffs big time. With over 20 points in each playoff game, Montgomery led teams to a championship with his performance. Now, this next one might rile up some Cowboys fans, so be ready. But still, Ezekiel Elliott has had a rough year after a lot of injuries on the team. So, I say that Tony Pollard, the Cowboys' backup running back, will start to slowly take over for an injured Zeke. It'll be worth watching if Zeke can get back to form next year after a tough 2020 season. Well, that's all for today, so thank you for tuning in to Fantasy on the Clock. Join me next time as I continue to guide you through one of the craziest fantasy seasons yet.